Have you ever felt like your relationship is unraveling and you don't even know why? Like you're staring at a perfect picture, but the frame is quietly cracking underneath? Here's the harsh truth. Most relationships die not because of betrayal, not because of some dramatic blow-up, but because of the silent habits that sneak in day after day. And here's the kicker. You might be the architect of your own heartbreak without realizing it. Let's start with the first culprit, subtle withdrawal. This isn't the obvious ghosting, it's the slow fade. Maybe you're busy or tired. Maybe your messages are increasingly one-word replies. You tell yourself it's harmless. Everyone needs space. But here's the thing. Consistent emotional distance is like slowly turning off the lights in your partner's world. It doesn't feel dramatic until one day they're sitting in darkness, wondering when they stopped being enough. And while we're on the topic, let's talk about emotional outsourcing. You know, expecting your partner to be your therapist, your hype man, and your safe space all at once. Millennials and General Z thrive on main character energy, but the line between supporting each other and leaning too heavily is thin. Over time, this creates an invisible weight that no apology can fully lift. The relationship doesn't implode with fireworks, it corrodes quietly, leaving resentment in the corners you didn't notice were there. Now, here's something that might sting: the illusion of control. You think you're just protecting yourself by keeping score, remembering every slight, or silently judging every move your partner makes. But what you're really doing is building a barrier that blocks intimacy. Every passive-aggressive comment, every sigh, every raised eyebrow is a brick in the wall between you two. And before long, it feels like you're dating a stranger. Quick check, pause for a second. Ask yourself, have you ever laughed at a joke they didn't make? Or nodded along while thinking about your phone, that little moment? That's your relationship subtly slipping away. The funny part is, we think these things are normal. That's just how couples are, we tell ourselves. Spoiler, it's not. And here's the most dangerous part that no one talks about. The habits we assume are harmless can compound silently. One small withdrawal here, one tiny judgment there, one missed moment of connection. It's like termites gnawing at the foundation. You don't notice the damage until the whole house starts creaking. But that's not even the most dangerous part. That comes when you realize, stick around, because in the next section, we're uncovering the invisible behaviors that make your partner chase you away, and why what you think is cute or quirky might actually be relationship poison. Have you noticed how some relationships slowly crumble, not with drama or betrayal, but with tiny, invisible habits that feel harmless until it's too late? Here's the harsh reality. Most people are unknowingly training their partner's emotions, and not in a good way. Take breadcrumbing, for example. Not the obvious "I'll text, you later" type, but the subtle, inconsistent attention. A like here, a compliment there, a flirty comment that vanishes into silence. At first, it seems playful, but the psychological effect is profound. Your partner starts chasing you emotionally, trying to decode your signals, and unconsciously investing more than you are. That little thrill of unpredictability, it's addictive, but it's also a relationship landmine. Then there's emotional withholding disguised as self-care. You tell yourself, I need my space, but space becomes a buffer that quietly distances you. Over time, your partner unconsciously recalibrates their attachment to you. They stop sharing, stop expecting, and stop caring the way they once did. Emotional closeness doesn't vanish overnight. It evaporates slowly while you convince yourself nothing's wrong. Another subtle killer is main character energy gone unchecked. You're vibrant, magnetic, maybe even thrilling. But if the relationship becomes your personal stage, your partner slowly slips into the role of audience. Humans crave co-starring roles in love. Feeling secondary triggers subtle resentment, diminishes intimacy, and quietly rewires their attraction. This is emotional manipulation in its softest form. You're not mean, you're just unconsciously misallocating attention and significance. Quick reality check. Have you ever thought they should just know how I feel while scrolling on your phone? That tiny thought? It's a psychological nudge that reshapes your partner's expectations and quietly chips away at closeness. And here's the twist. Emotional mirroring can backfire. Most people believe matching moods builds connection, but mirroring only surface feelings while hiding vulnerability is a trap. Your partner senses alignment, but never real emotional intimacy. They're investing effort into a connection that's a facade, and that's where subtle manipulation, without intention, takes root. These invisible behaviors aren't loud. They whisper. They embed themselves in attachment patterns, attraction loops, and trust mechanisms. The scary part? Most people never notice until the pattern has rewired the relationship, leaving emotional distance where love used to live. But the truly dangerous part? There's an even deeper layer, one that controls how your partner perceives your availability, value, and emotional safety. And that's where most relationships quietly collapse. Stick around, because next we'll uncover the hidden psychological traps that turn subtle habits into full-blown heartbreak, and how to flip the script before it's too late. Here's where most people get blindsided. It's not the fights, not the betrayals, not even the arguments that destroy a relationship. It's the hidden psychological traps you set without realizing. Habits like inconsistent attention, subtle withdrawal, or main character energy don't just annoy, they reshape how your partner feels, thinks, and ultimately loves. Take attachment loops. If your partner is constantly unsure whether you're emotionally available, their brain starts rewiring to chase uncertainty. They crave the highs of connection but brace for withdrawal. And here's the kicker. Their attraction begins to hinge on anxiety, not authentic closeness. It's a dangerous cycle because what feels magnetic at first slowly morphs into emotional dependency, and that's exhausting for both sides. Then there's subtle emotional manipulation, the kind that doesn't feel malicious but still leaves damage in its wake. Tiny sighs, strategic teasing, delayed replies, or the occasional, "I guess you don't care" comment. These aren't dramatic, but they chip away at trust. Over time, your partner unconsciously recalibrates their expectations. They stop investing fully, stop believing in your consistency, and slowly begin checking out emotionally. Quick pause. Have you ever felt like your partner is a little distant, but you can't explain why? That's not coincidence. That's your habits quietly signaling your emotional availability or lack thereof without you even realizing it. Let's talk about unintentional comparison too. Maybe you're scrolling social media, noticing others' highlight reels, or even casually comparing your partner to past relationships. You might think it's harmless, but in psychological terms, every micro-judgment erodes emotional safety. Your partner senses it, even subconsciously, and begins questioning their value. Attraction doesn't thrive in insecurity. It dies quietly in the shadows. And here's the final, almost invisible trap, the illusion of fairness. You might be thinking, I've been good, I compromise, I'm patient, while overlooking how your small habits, ghosting for hours, subtly criticizing, withholding affection, compound over time. The relationship isn't breaking because you're bad, it's breaking because your unconscious behavior has rewired the emotional architecture between you two. The terrifying reality? Most people never catch these patterns. They only notice the symptoms: boredom, distance, lack of spark, and the gut-wrenching feeling that their partner has changed, or worse, that they've changed. But here's the good news. Once you see the hidden mechanics, you can reset them. You can shift attachment loops, rebuild trust, and reverse emotional manipulation before it's too late. But the next piece of the puzzle is the hardest to face, because recognizing the habits is one thing, but actually breaking them without losing yourself or your partner, that's where most people fail, and where the real transformation begins. Keep watching, because the next segment will reveal the practical psychological hacks that stop your love from quietly dying and actually make your partner feel safe, valued, and deeply connected. Now that you understand the invisible currents pulling your relationship apart, it's time for the reset. Small, strategic changes that feel effortless but rewire attachment, trust, and intimacy. This isn't cheesy self-help fluff. It's grounded in behavioral psychology and emotional insight, the kind that actually works in the real world. First, let's tackle emotional availability. One of the biggest mistakes people make is thinking, I don't need to explain myself all the time, but your partner's brain craves predictable emotional signals. Here's a subtle reset, give clarity without over-explaining. A simple, consistent check-in, I'm thinking about you, or I need a little space, but I'm here, reduces anxiety, builds trust, and signals reliability. It's small, but psychologically, it's like turning on the lights in a dark room. Next, recalibrate your attention loops. If you've been breadcrumbing or unintentionally creating chase dynamics, you need to flip the script. Instead of being unpredictable, Introduce moments of intentional delight, short, meaningful gestures that show appreciation and presence. Psychologically, this isn't manipulation, it's strategic consistency. Your partner begins to feel secure, their brain releases the reward chemicals of connection rather than stress. ND attraction stabilizes. Then there's main character energy done right. You don't need to dim your sparkle, but share the spotlight. Ask questions that draw your partner in, highlight their achievements, laugh at their quirks, and genuinely co-create experiences. When someone feels seen and celebrated, their emotional investment skyrockets. Attraction isn't about dominance, it's about mutual validation, shared excitement, and the subtle thrill of being understood. Quick reality check. Have you ever assumed your partner notices all the little things you do? They don't. Micro gestures matter more than grand gestures. A message at the right time, a touch on the shoulder, a thoughtful question. These reset emotional patterns faster than any argument ever could. Finally, stop unintentional emotional sabotage. Catch yourself before passive, aggressive comments, subtle criticism, or comparison slips out. Replace it with curiosity and empathy instead of thinking, why did they do that? Ask, what's going on for them right now? This rewires the relational loop from defensiveness to safety, reducing withdrawal and rebuilding intimacy faster than you might expect. Here's the hidden genius of these resets. They work without forcing change or drama. By giving your partner a sense of security, recognition, and emotional alignment, you quietly dissolve the traps you've been falling into for months or even years. Relationships aren't fixed overnight, but these small, deliberate actions create momentum. But here's the part that separates relationships that survive from those that quietly drift apart, the internal transformation you need to undergo yourself. Because no amount of resets works if your own attachment patterns and unconscious habits remain unexamined. Stick with me, because next we'll tackle the ultimate internal shifts, the mindset, self-awareness, and behavioral tweak that let you love fully without losing yourself while making your partner feel truly safe and wanted. Here's the truth that most people never hear. Fixing a relationship externally, messages, attention, gestures, can only go so far. If your own attachment patterns, fears, and unconscious habits aren't addressed, the cycle repeats. The real transformation starts within you. First, examine your attachment blueprint. Are you anxious, avoiding, or caught in cycles of chasing and withdrawing? Understanding your tendencies isn't just self-reflection, it's tactical. For example, if you tend to pull away under stress, recognize it as an automatic habit, not a reflection of your love. Then, practice deliberate presence. Stay, communicate, and show up emotionally, even when your instincts urge otherwise. Your partner will notice. Their trust, attraction, and sense of safety will deepen in ways that superficial resets alone can't achieve. Next, confront fear-based behaviors. Fear of rejection, fear of being too much, or fear of vulnerability drives subtle sabotage, overanalyzing messages, creating chase dynamics, or withdrawing to test your partner. Flip the script. Replace fear with curiosity. Ask, explore, and remain emotionally open. Vulnerability isn't weakness. It's a strategic move that builds attachment and intimacy while dissolving the hidden manipulations that erode love. Then, master the art of conscious reciprocity. Relationships are not a ledger, they're a dynamic flow of emotional investment. Notice when you're giving too little or too much, and recalibrate. Psychological research shows that balanced reciprocity paired with authenticity strengthens emotional bonds more than any grand gesture or dramatic sacrifice. Quick challenge. Catch yourself in the next conversation thinking, do they appreciate me enough? Instead, ask, am I showing up as my best, most consistent self? That tiny shift in focus rewires your behavior instantly, from reactive to proactive, from anxious to secure. Finally, integrate all these layers: emotional resets, attachment awareness, and conscious reciprocity. The combination transforms relationships into something almost unshakable. Your partner feels genuinely seen, valued, and safe, while you maintain authenticity and personal boundaries. Love ceases to be a precarious balancing act and becomes a space of mutual growth, excitement, and deep emotional connection. Here's the final undeniable truth. Relationships fail not because love disappears, but because we fail to see the patterns we repeat, the unconscious behaviors that sabotage intimacy, and the emotional architecture we take for granted. Once you recognize these patterns, apply subtle resets, and transform your inner landscape, you don't just save your relationship, you elevate it. Start today. Notice your habits, adjust the invisible signals, and step into your own emotional power. Your partner will feel it. Your connection will feel it. And for the first time, love won't feel like a fragile experiment. It will feel like a masterpiece you're both actively creating.